Hey everyone, it's Ted. I'm out here in my post barn working on my convertible and just about got it back together. This has been a long, arduous process. Try to take the exhaust manifolds off, bolts break off in the head, try to heat them up, get them out, they break off flush, can't get them out, so I got to pull the cylinder heads off. This is a 1969 Buick Electra that's never been apart. So send the heads out, they're in good shape. Playing the exhaust manifold and the cylinder head surfaces, so I have a new contact on that. Everything's back together almost, and I just got a few things left to do. And I said, well, let me pressurize the coolant system just to make sure. I put new hoses in and so on. And 100% leak. I can't get any pressure in it. So here I am thinking, all right, what did I do wrong? I had a couple friends help me. They were working on it with me too. They're very helpful, good guys, and I think what happened was probably one of them did the job that I asked them to do, and maybe the cause of it was a simple mistake. So with no pressure at all in the coolant system, I can't pressurize it. I had to figure out a way to put enough air into it to find the leak, and being it was a catastrophic leak, I figured it was something stupid. And it is. So we're going to show you what I did, how I figured it out, and maybe this will help you if you ever do something dumb like this. This just happens, you know, you're putting things together, it gets late at night, I'm out here working, trying to finish things up, and you know, you make a mistake. But as long as it's a simple mistake, no big deal. So let's get started and show you what I did and how I figured it out. Okay, as you can see, I've got virtually everything's back together here. I've got the heads on, valve adjustment, everything's done, carburetor's on, I still got to torque that down. I got a couple of wires I got to change the ends on, just little stuff, a couple small hose clamps, belts are on, everything's ready to go. And then I go to pressure test it because I finished all the hoses last night, and probably about 8 o'clock at night I find it won't take any pressure. So, all right, so what I ended up doing was I was trying to use my stamp pressure tester and I couldn't put enough air into it quick enough. So I unthreaded the end, which has the cap on it, and ran my air hose out here from my compressor, and I put a little bit of tape on the end of my blowgun, all right, and I'm just gonna feather it a little bit, and you might be able to hear it. So you can hear it leaking out for sure. So I got a little spray bottle with some soapy water, Dawn dishwashing liquid or whatever you got. I could hear generically where it was coming from, so I come over here and I spray it a little bit with some soapy water, and then put a little air to it. All right, so here we go. It's such a leak it won't even make bubbles. It's just shooting out of the bottom of that thermostat housing. So you can see the air is moving down right in here. And I think what happened was, yep, when we put the thermostat housing back on, I probably had the thermostat drop down a little bit, and that's hung up between the gasket and the housing. Simple mistake to make. And it leads to a very, very big leak. All right, so we got a new gasket, and to prevent the thermostat from falling down, because what happened the last time was it fell down out of the groove before you got the gasket on there. I'm just going to put a little bit of this Permatex. This is that Permatex Forma gasket, number 819. It has a little vent hole here, and you want to make sure that that faces up when you put the thermostat in. All right, I got the thermostat housing cleaned off, and what I did was I took some of this Permatex aviation Forma gasket. It's black and it's super sticky, dries pretty quick, and it's almost like a gasket adhesive. I put some around the groove that the thermostat fits into, and I've had this thermostat in here for a good 10 minutes. It's not moving, so it's not going to fall out of place. Just put a little bit in the groove of this stuff, and that holds it in place, let it dry for a little bit. Second thing I did was I put some of this gasket sealer on the back side and also on the gasket surface, and then I centered the groove that the thermostat will fit into. All right, what I did was I put a couple of studs in here. I got some short 5/16 studs. I'm going to try to slide the gasket in the housing over that and then put the hose on after I get the bolts put in. Now, I'm 90% sure, not 100%, that that thermostat is still in position. And then we're going to finagle and get this hose on there. That's better. I changed this hose clamp while I was here anyway, and we'll put a not yet I don't, but I will. There we go. All right, like I always say, 5/16 socket driver's your friend. The bolts are all tightened. I'm gonna snug down this hose clamp. All right, let's check the torque on this again. Yeah. Okay, here we go. There we are. All right. Okay, I'm going to put the top radiator hose back on. All right, I'm going to pressure test it one more time. That's about 4 psi. The cap is at 7. So let's try the old soap treatment one more time and see if we win. Nothing out of that gasket now. This looks good. So the top hose is still leaking a touch. I'm going to look for another one. I got a part number on here, which is nice for this hose. So maybe if I run that part number, I can get a new one. All right, I'm gonna go next to torquing this carburetor down, and it's a Rochester Quadrajet from 1969, of course. And I couldn't find the torque specs in the workshop manual. I have the entire 1969 Buick Electra workshop manual, and it was very difficult to find it. So, being my marine mechanic world, I switched over here to my 1980s workshop manual for carburetors, and this is for a big block V8 Mercruiser, and carburetor to the intake manifold is 132 inch-pounds. So So that's inch pounds, folks, 15 Newton meters. I want to torque it down first before I actually tighten the fuel line inlet on that engine, because I want to make sure it doesn't twist, because the fuel line inlet is 18 foot-pounds, which is a lot more. It's 24 Newton meters versus 15. So I want to torque this carburetor down before I actually tighten that fuel line. So we're going to do that real quick here for you. All right, I've got my my digital Matco torque wrench here, and I got to lean across the car because it's crazy. And it's 130 inch-pounds, and I really don't want to do it that way. I've already snugged them down, so I think they're pretty good. I lightly snugged them down. So let's go and see if we can't torque these. The other back corner, I already torqued them to 70, so. All right. And there's 130. And the last one. There we go, 130. All right, so carburetor torque is 130 inch-pounds. You got these flanges on these older carburetors, all the quadrajets. You don't want to over torque them. All right, so I've got the carburetor torqued. I got a PCV valve, and what I ended up doing was I went down to O'Reilly Auto Parts and I compared some, and 3/8 vacuum air line is what I picked up. 11/32 was on the old one, but 3/8 seems to work fine. And I had to push a little harder on the PCV valve, and I got a new one, a little smaller. We played around and found the one I wanted, and then that line is definitely the size to put here. I'm going to cut a little bit off of this hose, but I got a couple feet, so there's no vacuum leak, especially from crankcase ventilation coming up to the bottom of the carburetor. That's a major thing. That's what a lot of people don't understand about carburetors, is that line leaks and you have an intake manifold vacuum leak, and that's a huge problem. So this really needs to be tight. So when you check your PCV valves on old carburetor cars, make sure they're tight, make sure they fit tight, make sure this line is in good shape, make sure that you put a tie wrap on that line, cinch it down. And I have the curved marine tie wraps. They're actually curved on the end where the tie wrap goes through, so it pulls it nice and straight, and those are the ones I want to use. The biggest concern is this intake manifold has this gasket, which is a one-piece gasket from 1969. They do not have a multi-piece gasket. It comes with a one-piece stainless steel gasket, and it comes with the inserts like you would have, but it's not the same. And the installation says that when you put it in, put a little sealer on it. The original didn't have it. I cleaned the surfaces. They're all brand new. Everything's like original factory. And so when I put it together, I was a little skeptical because it's not compression gaskets, it's stainless steel. I'll show you the original right now. I got one right over in the corner, and it's very different. I've never put one of these together, so I'm very careful at this point on testing this coolant system, because I want to make sure that these crossovers here actually seal real well. If they don't seal well, antifreeze is going to go in the engine. That's not going to be good. So fuel system, vacuum system, and coolant system, nuts and bolts is nuts and bolts. I put many engines together. You know, new alternator, new brackets, all kinds of new little fittings, new power steering lines. I got a new blower motor to put in. Just going through this whole thing. It's been a long process, but we're getting really close to the end here. So I'm hoping, yeah, in another week, maybe two. It's winter time. It's cold. I got the wood stove going. All right, so here's the original gasket. This is the original intake manifold gasket. And it goes down in the valley like this. And it has ridges on the edges of all the intake and the water ports. And the water ports are the ones I was concerned with. Being that when I looked at this and I cleaned it up, this is from 1969. This is definitely original. There is no sealant here, and I didn't see any water leakage anywhere. And I don't know when the antifreeze was changed. I already changed it twice. I've owned this car for, what, 7 years, and I've already done an antifreeze change twice to flush it out. And now I've got to do everything like this again. But I'm not too concerned about the leakage. The original part is still available. And actually Napa Auto Parts was the ones that actually had this, and they knew what the part number was. The gentleman was awesome, and he got me this, the gasket, the new gasket set. It comes with the front gasket, which is a regular neoprene rubber gasket that goes on the front of the intake and against the block in the back. But then you have these corners, and of course you have to put your RTV here. And there is some RTV from the factory here. So I put the black RTV in, just like the factory, and put it all back together. So just so if you ever have to do this, it's a little weird because this just sits in there. And then when you drop the intake manifold in place, this kind of folds into place like that. And then you torque it down. I didn't want to put sealer on it because all it was going to do is smear off. And the original workshop manual doesn't say anything about it. So we put it back together and pressure tested, and it seems fine. All right, I'm going to keep working here for a little bit. I've got some more, lines to hook up, a couple of hoses here and there. Coming together pretty good. All right, so let me keep going on here, and I'll show you some more later on.